Well, let's start with the easy thing. So tell me who you are.
Well, my name is Adam Kuzik, and I have lived in Calgary my entire life, and I've been in real estate now. This is year 4 of being an agent, but prior to that I was in real estate marketing, of course, doing digital media.
Ah, gotcha. And how long were you doing that?
So that was about 6 or 7 years, and servicing like hundreds of realtors in the Calgary area. Yeah.
And then you looked to make a switch. So you went from kind of behind the scenes.
And funny story, it was actually one of the Redline executives now, Kelly Scar, who actually convinced me to go and start my license and get into, I guess, an expansion of, taking what I was already doing and just doing it all the way through from, start to completion.
Obviously, it was an interest of yours to dig a little further, and you saw what was going on in the sales side of the business, and that intrigued you.
Absolutely, because it was a very detached experience to go into a property, do the photos and videos, and then be gone, and then to see it sell maybe, a week, 10 days later, and you're like, wow, that was like my work, but I didn't get to be part of the process. So, it could have been a little bit of case of, FOMO, fear of missing out, but I wanted to see it through to the end, and then you really have, finality of that project, but then you maintain the relationship with the client going forward.
For sure, and you probably find that you got to interact a lot more with the client, not so just those shorter temporary spots when you were servicing them for a moment.
Exactly, and being able to build the relationship and have that trust, and them trusting that I'm not only bringing the sales and the negotiating side, but also the the marketing and the media side, and it really created a lot of points of discussion to create that full understanding of what it means to buy and sell houses.
Yeah, absolutely, I could see that for sure. And the intrigue kind of similar to kind of our model. We felt to service a little bit more, right?
Exactly.
There's an opportunity there.
Yeah, and the Redline model is I think it's a perfect fit for where my business has evolved to and where it's continuing to evolve to.
Even prior to your photography business, media business,
yeah,
you were a school teacher as well.
Yes.
And can you talk about how that might has helped you in your current role?
So I think one of the biggest things is the adaptability to working with people, and it's a matter of meeting them where they're at. So some people have, like, they've sold 10 houses and they have they understand everything about it, but sometimes it's their very first home purchase and they've just got married or just are cohabitating. They don't know anything. So it's not about saying, well, just trust me and I'll get it done. No, let's walk you through what this is actually going to look like and what the steps that you need to do to basically, it's cliche, but help me help you.
Gotcha. And that educational roots that you have obviously parlay really well.
Yeah, you try and step that back a little, because like teacher, they don't it depends, but I try to
rein that in.
Rein that in a little bit.
Nobody needs to know it all, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Even though you might, right?
I know it all.
No. Gotcha. You mentioned the word, and when we were chatting before, fascination with real estate.
Yeah.
So that kind of took you over the edge as well to get into this career. Anything that you can expand upon that?
Oh, absolutely. So it's one of those things where real estate is so many things. It's the real property. So, obviously you start with dirt, and that dirt gets built into something. And then there's like the legal and the financial side. So it's really a full spectrum of, skills and tools that you need to understand. And, I'm a realtor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a finance guy. I can't use a backhoe, but to understand that, what it entails and who the professionals need to go in, and then understanding how they play a part in the process, I find that absolutely fascinating.
Right, you like to be able to, I guess, puppet master a little bit of sorts.
A little bit of a puppet master, a little bit of maybe a choreographer, because ultimately, I might have a vision, I might be able to work with a client to help them achieve their vision, but ultimately I need to know who the experts are in each of those pieces to put the whole thing together and ultimately have a beautiful home and then be able to legally sell said home.
Right, and yeah, curate a good experience throughout that process.
Absolutely, and so choreographer to curator, I know there's a lot of arts aspects of real estate that do come into play into putting together a project and selling a home, and I consider them all projects. So the sale of a condo downtown is a project. The sale of a multi-million-dollar estate is a project. The sale of a full-on development, well, that's definitely a project. But for me, this is a very project-based type of career.
It sounds like your take on real estate is that you give each of those projects now its own specialty, its own focus, because they're not all the same and they should be treated differently.
They should absolutely be treated differently, and it really comes down to working with my clients, usually the sellers, to figure out who that end user, who the consumer is going to be, and creating a package and a marketing package that speaks to who we believe is going to ultimately be the person to purchase that.
Yeah, and again, in our discussions, I asked you about kind of what's a specific niche that you've developed over the years.
Yes.
So maybe this is a good time to go into that.
Over the last few years, I've really been able to build a great resume of working with developers and helping them take their development from concept through to completion. And it's really been neat. I've worked with new developers where their project is $5 to $7 million, and I've worked with large developers where we're talking $500 million for the project with marketing budgets of $1 million. It's funny because yeah, there's a lot of pressure and yeah, there's a lot of money on the table, but if you approach it systematically, and again, be the choreographer and the curator and put all the right pieces into place, ultimately, you still need the graders, you still need the framers, and you still need the sales, and you still need the consumers.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like where a lot of people would shy away from that side of business, or would think that that's too complex for me. But you thrive and really go after that type of business.
The complexity is fascinating to me. There is very narrow margins for error, and I thrive with that. And then to take that narrow margin of error and put it towards residential real estate with a $200,000, $300,000 condo or a $500,000 or $600,000 family home, when you're taking that same attitude of narrow margin of error, you tend to get the job done more efficiently and quickly.
For sure. Well, this business, we don't go through that many transactions in our lifetime. So that narrow margin error you talk about is real, right?
Yeah,
developer, yes,
yeah.
But for the consumer, trading up, trading down, they're trying to do this thing for a specific reason in their point of their life.
Yeah.
You can't really screw it up, No,
no, and again, we're not just dealing with someone's home and the asset, we're also dealing with the emotions behind that. So, someone's home, it's also a building, but it's also their largest asset. There is a lot of money tied up, and $100,000, $50,000, that's a lot of money. Even to me, I'm not even rich. God, I wish I had $50,000. But
it does. I guess what you're saying, it never goes away.
No,
that we're not playing stocks.
No, we're not playing stocks. We're not playing. We're doing. Like this. It's not a rehearsal.
All right, well, this is the fun part. Why don't we go into kind of one of the funnest parts of selling real estate?
Absolutely. For me, the funnest part is really building that relationship with my clients, because ultimately you have to put all your cards on the table and they have to put all of their cards on the table. And you really get an opportunity to really get to know one another, build that relationship, and ultimately you both have the same goal, whether you're trying to buy a property or sell a property. And so working together on having that, same goal is really it's a kind of a bonding experience, and it's something that you can speak to for years to come.
Well, the relationships that we build out of these, like you said, you spend a lot more time with your realtor than you do your lawyer or your banker. There's a full trust and like you said, bond that's come out of this experience.
Absolutely, and that bond, ideally we want that to last for, you know, a lifetime, because ultimately if you've done your job right, you know, your clients are going to come back to you for, you know, their second and third and fourth, fifth home. And hopefully maybe they'll be investing and it'll be their 10th home.
Exactly, or the friends of the friends.
Absolutely.
This business is so relational,
yes.
Even despite how much it's gone social media and other things and internet based, it still comes back to the you and I.
Absolutely.
Let's stay on the fun side of things. Okay. How about, I don't know if you've got one, but let's go, what about one of the craziest stories you've had?
Oh, there's a lot. But I think one of the craziest stories was my opportunity to list one of the top 10 most expensive estates in Alberta. This was a beautiful lakefront estate. It was absolutely exquisite. But there was the first time to get there, and I was heading down a country road, and it was just, you know, in the middle of nowhere. You know, what is going on here? So, of course, I had to call the home or the house and say, so I think I'm here, but I'm not too sure because the entrance wasn't quite obvious. I said, but I see a black llama. And they're like, oh, the black llama. Yeah, turn left at the llama and you'll be here. I'm like, turn left at the llama. And that is probably the most random, crazy story that like sort of stayed with me, you know, this darn llama. And then, you know, you go up a second, third, fourth time and there's the llama. Turn left at the llama.
That's awesome because it's in, like you said, one of Alberta's most exquisite property.
Yeah.
And here you are giving directions to realtors. Make sure you turn left at the llama.
You see a llama, you're in the right. Yeah.
Love it. What's one thing that most people don't know about you?
Probably that I'm a foodie. I really enjoy dining experiences, food scenes in the city. I've been lucky enough to enjoy a few Michelin star restaurants, and when I travel, I really like to check out, you know, the local food scene. Not necessarily what their star restaurants are, but what, you know, sort of the you gotta eat here kind of scene that you know, the Food Network puts on.
No, for sure. And this town's evolving into that. I'm sure you
Absolutely,
can feel it.
yeah, and through connections in real estate, I've been able to, you know, meet restaurateurs and chefs, and it's kind of cool because that's the other part of real estate, is that you're always meeting people, and there's always, you know, it's not even 6 degrees of separation anymore. It's usually like 2 or 3, and it's really easy as an agent to be like, hey, I'm really interested in meeting, you know, this person. Oh, you know who knows that person? This person who I know really well, and that's easily done. You know, you can do it on social media with a phone call, text. That's the really cool part about you know, being in real estate, and then being able to, you know, meet cool peoples and experience more of the city and the food scene or just the local entrepreneur scene.
For sure, yeah, that's one thing I love about this business too,
Yeah.
because we do get that opportunity that a lot of people don't, because
Yeah.
our whole job is out and about and connecting with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is, you know, kind of the mythbuster side
Yeah.
of things. So some things the consumer should know about the world of real estate that you think they may not be truly aware of.
I think the biggest thing is who you work with really matters. This industry, especially in the last year or two, is rapidly changing. You need to be with agents who are staying up to date on the technology, the regulations, and common practice even. So even though you might have worked with someone in the past, if they haven't kept up with it, they may not be, you know, the best choice for you. And so choosing someone who's fully dedicated and doing this, you know, learning and full time, that's really important for a transaction to go smoothly.
Yeah, I agree. The world could not be changing any quicker, right? It's moving as fast as it's ever moved, right? So, and us, right? The people may not realize it, but so is our industry.
Yes, yeah. And we're getting the memos almost monthly now about some pretty significant things that we need to be aware of on our day-to-day practice. And we need to be able to communicate to our consumers how that affects them.
Sure. I love that you used our tagline, in a sense, who you work with matters, because yeah, we believe that in the root of our hearts as well.
Well, and for me, it's really comes to the root of why Redline as a company and why I wanted to come and work with this company.
Cool, very cool. what would your would-be clients, the ones you haven't worked with yet, kind of expect from you? What should they expect from you?
So I think the first thing that they can expect from me is that I will listen to understand. Now, you know, most people just listen to respond, and that's a very salesy thing to do, you know, come up with the, you know, they say this and I say this, but ultimately that's not what my clients need. They need me to understand their story, and so that I can interpret what they're needing and then give them the best scenario and the best program to move forward. And, you know, using the tools and the power behind that Redline brings to the table, this just makes my job a lot easier because the tools are all right there, from the technology, the admin support, the marketing support, even the executive support. It's all right there, and they're just things that once I'm understanding where my consumers or where my clients are coming from, then I just highlight the tool that will essentially, you know, heal the pain.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this in passing with myself, is you like to meet them where they are. And you can't do that unless you're listening to understand.
Absolutely. It's one of those active listening skills. It's, you know, going back to when I started even as a teacher. It's something that took a lot of time and effort to really get your head around what does it mean to actively listen and to, you know, be able to understand where they're coming from rather than just respond to what they're saying.
That's right. It sounds like you have that ability to get a little deeper with your clients, and ultimately you're going to be a better leader when you're in the direction that they're asking you to take them.
I really hope so.
Well, awesome. I think we've hit everything today.
Okay.
So again, so you've been on board for a little bit now.
Yep.
I'm super stoked to have you as CEO. You're bringing a whole new dynamic to the company. We're really excited for you to be with us. Thank you for choosing us. And we can't wait to see what you're going to accomplish.
I really appreciate that, and I'm really excited about this year. I'm really excited to see how my clients benefit, and really just waving the Redline real estate flag and jumping in, you know, head first.
Absolutely. Is there any other way, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, yes, sir.